sick of it. I really am sick of it. Heavy. I have a problem and a debate. Problem is, these gates are getting overgrown, kind of being a pain in the butt. Secondly, which is better, in your opinion? Cottonseed or protein? We're gonna find out. Today's video is brought to you by the brutal Texas sun, stock archery arrows, and a lot of sweat. As we move forward in this video, let's get to the verse of the day. It comes from Romans chapter 15, verse 4, and it says, "For whatever was written in former days was written for our instruction, that through endurance and through the encouragement of the scriptures we might have hope." There's a lot of people out there that choose to be non-believers in some form or fashion because of the age of the Bible. They don't believe that it's fitting for current day, current time. But that verse right there tells us otherwise. If you go through and you read the Bible with an open heart and an open mind, you will realize just how much it applies to us today, so much so as it did back then. Today's video is really going to be a lot about some long distance archery shooting. What I'm shooting out of my Matthews V3X is a stock archery, the stock archery silence series arrow. This is a 340 spine, 10.9 grains per inch, and it is a 4mm shaft, four fletchings, 4 vanes back there, and a wrap, lighted knock, and then 125 grain field tip. I'm doing some long distance shooting because, number one, good for me to practice even if I'm not always going to take these types of shots. What it does for me is it builds confidence in my closer shots. So I start out at a close range, 20 yards per se, and then I'll scoot on all the way out to whatever I'm comfortable to. That may be 60, 70, 80, 90 yards. I've got a pretty good gust going today, so I'll probably only be going out to about 50 or 60. The other reason why I'm practicing at some further distances is because I'm going elk hunting in New Mexico in September, so just a little over a month away, and I'm super pumped. I'm going with my good friend John Verhelst, and we're gonna have an absolute blast. I can see it right now. We're both gonna put 2 big bull elk on the ground, one apiece, of course. But I gotta get my reps in, and I'm gonna film a video doing the same thing also. We're gonna go over some tips and some tricks about some long-range shooting. I enjoy sharing what most would probably consider little knowledge about shooting a bow with you guys. I expect that to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 18 yards. It's 17. So we're gonna start off at about 17 yards, and while I'm poking holes in this brand new block target that I've got, I want you guys to go down below and leave your comment. What do you think the whitetail and the hogs are going to like better? Are they going to like the cottonseed better, or are they going to like the protein better? I've just recently started feeding cottonseed here on this property, and the deer have really seemed to love it so far. But we're going to continue to put it out through these summer months, supplement these deer, give them the protein and the nutrition that they need, because we are in a horrible drought right now. Arrow number 1, a little sore. hold that one just a tad. Not a bad first grouping at about 18 yards. We're gonna move it on out. I'm gonna step it off to about 40. We're gonna let some more fly. Target's pretty well blown out there. There we go, that's better. Here's a couple of tips real quick for you guys. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on my channel before, but one of my favorite things to do is to grab a block target, a 3D target, whatever target it is that you have, and go get out in a field somewhere. Go get out in the woods, go get somewhere that is not your backyard or your normal arrow flinging location. What happens to me is when I'm in my backyard, I get super comfortable. I walk up to a spot, I already know the distance, I can draw back there and just let arrows fly. It's repetitious, it's comfortable, it's where I've formed habits, some good, some bad, and I have way more confidence in my backyard than I would, let's just say, you know, walking through some really thick brush like what's right here in front of me or right here behind me. So what I like to do to challenge myself, this makes you a much better shot, this will build confidence for you, and that's how it makes you a better shot. But what this does for me is, if y'all can see down there, which I'll show you here in just a minute, or you'll see it here in just a minute, I got grass in the way. So what I'm looking at right now is I've got 2 dots that are open on top, and there's grass everywhere else. I gotta aim small, I gotta miss small, and I really don't want to lose an arrow. Another challenge that's in front of me is I've got grapevine that's hanging down this road, down this 2-track right here. As I'm drawing back, I am seeing those. They, for some people, that may be a mental block, a mental object for you that throws you off one way or the other. It's not a wide open, clear spot. It kind of makes your heart rate rise just a little bit, even though it's a foam block that's sitting down there. It's so important to practice these situations, whether you're just a tree stand hunter, which is what I do a lot of the time, or if you get out and you spot and stalk, you still hunt, you go to the mountains, you go elk hunting, you go mule deer hunting, you go sheep hunting, whatever it may be that you go out and hunt. It's super important to practice different scenarios, different situations. Get out of your comfort zone. I promise you it will make you a better shot. The next thing, and this is going to be kind of 2 tips rolled into one here. As I'm practicing, I never know what kind of situation I'm going to find myself in equipment wise as I am in the field. Now if I'm tree stand hunting, I know exactly how my bow is going to be set up. I'm going to take my quiver off, and I'm going to take my tri-stand here off. Now if I'm in the mountains, I may have my tri-stand on, I may have my quiver on still, I may have one or the other, I may have both, I may have a different stabilizer on, or I might get caught with my pants around my ankles and I might be taking my stabilizer off for whatever reason to clean it or to adjust it, fix it, whatever. You never know what you're going to run into in the mountains or in the field or in any hunting scenario or situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tri-stand off right here, and this is going to be how I would normally shoot and how I would prefer to shoot. So it makes my entire setup lighter. I can stay back at full draw longer. It's less weight to hold up with my shoulder. We're going to take some shots with basically no quiver, no stand, and then we're going to throw everything back on there, because I might be hiking up a trail in New Mexico and I might come into a situation where my bow is fully loaded with everything on it and I have to knock an arrow, draw back, and make that decision. And I have to have confidence regardless of how I'm set up. I'm going to go fully bare here, basically, no quiver, no tri-stand, and we're going to take some shots out to 40 yards. I'm going to make a quick little adjustment here. And the other important thing, and I know I've stressed this a lot over the years, is whenever you come to full draw and you let that arrow fly, for me personally, this may be different for some of you, but for my longer distances, my longer shots, one thing that I have made a practice and a good habit for myself is when I come back to full draw and I'm pointing at that target, and this is really important for me, maybe different for you, but this is really important for me at 40 yards and beyond. If I draw back, I let an arrow fly, a lot of people want to peek. I used to have a bad habit of it. I want to shoot and peek. Well, what that does is that changes your point of impact of your arrow if you do it too quickly. At 20 and likely 30 yards for a lot of us, especially those of us that are shooting higher poundages, it's not going to affect you a whole lot unless you're very aggressive with throwing that bow to the side and taking a peek at your arrow and seeing where it hit on the target. Where it becomes very important and where it's very vital is that your shots that are 40, maybe even 35 for some of you, 35, 40 and out. I know for me, if I draw back and I let an arrow fly and I even just slightly drop my arm to see where that arrow hit, I'm already off. So what I've made a habit for myself is when I come back to full draw, I let that arrow fly. I'm going to hold that bow and that sight there on that target until I hear that arrow thud. Once I hear that arrow thud, I know that this arrow is completely clear of my riser, my rest, everything. It's a long ways down range, and if it's a bad shot, then it was my fault. I punched it, pushed it, whatever. If it's dead on, right where I was aiming, then I know that I didn't push that bow, and I know that I didn't go peek. We got grapevines, and we got grass. Right at about 40 yards out there. Not too shabby. That grass looks like it's blocking on that left dot because of my camera position, but it's open for me. We're gonna let one fly at that right dot out there. That one was me. I punched that one to the left just a little bit, so I wanted to peek. Booyah. That last one was pretty well in there, right where I wanted it to be. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna equip back up here, and we're gonna go pull those arrows, and then we're gonna make that round happen again. We're gonna scoot out a little bit further. This is always one of my most favorite things to do. It really helps kind of spice things up. Sometimes shooting the same target in the same place just can get boring, and so the grapevines hanging, the grass in the way, the hard breeze, the new location, it adds a bit of excitement to it, and it really challenges me. And when I'm challenging myself to do better and I end up doing better, I build confidence and I become a better shot. So let's go pull these arrows. My first arrow was my best one. My last arrow was my second best one. It was here, here, and then here. I was aiming for this dot with the first one, this dot with the second one. Not too shabby compared to my fist. I mean, just a little bit wider than my fist, and elk's heart is quite a bit bigger than that, so we're doing okay. All right, I'm going fully loaded here at about 50 yards, I think is what that is. Exactly 50 from where I stand. So here's where things are gonna get challenging for me. I'm more up into the grapevines now than what I was. They were just kind of dangling over the top of the target. Now they're dangling below the target. So they're really in my field of view now. I'll have quite a bit more grass and the distance is further. Also, I'm fully loaded out here with all of my equipment. These are the most challenging shots, especially with this hard wind that I've got. This is exciting. This is what is challenging to me. This is what builds my confidence, and I'm gonna fling some arrows and then we're gonna call it for this video. So there we are. We're gonna let some arrows fly at that top right. There's definitely some improvement that I'd like to see there. My first arrow was quite low, and from there I walked it back up. What that was is my shoulder getting tired, and instead of me peeking to the left or to the right, as soon as I'm releasing, I'm dropping that arm because I'm tired. It's heavy, it's hot. I had to force myself and remind myself, hey, you got to hold that pin on that target. Even the slider, just smaller movements, and it gets worse, it's exponential at further distances. Your mistakes, your faults are magnified at further distances. That's why I practice out here the way that I do, and that's why I always try to become a better shot, a better archer. And this wasn't my best 50-yard group that I've ever had in my entire life, but you know what? I'll take it. I'd rather be low than high, especially at distances further than 40 or so yards. That animal has time to hear, listen, react, and the first thing they do is they duck. So in reality, if this was a live animal, I probably would have made a perfect shot. I've got a group that I can wrap my fingers around at 50 yards, which is great. Although I was aiming here, but like I said, I'd rather be low at a long distance than high, because almost 9 times out of the 10, maybe not even that often, a lot of the times your animal is going to hear this arrow, they're going to duck. They would have ducked right into that, that would have been great. But this is where I was aiming, that's where I want to hit. Nonetheless, I will take this type of group at 50 yards all day long in the wind, with the challenges and the obstacles in the way. I will say another thing before I close this video out. I know for bow hunters and rifle hunters alike, we're always going to try to do our best to put ourselves in a position where we have the clearest shot possible. We have the clearest lane, we have the most visible field of view. We want to make the cleanest, most ethical shot that we can and harvest that animal in the best way that we possibly can. And practicing these really tough shots with grass and wind and limbs or grapevines or something in the way, and a new location, uneven ground, it's going to challenge you, and it's going to hopefully build your confidence. The more you do it, the better you'll get. I hope the few tips that I've given you guys helped you out. I'll be bringing you some more and some upcoming videos. We will scoot out to some further distances. If I had more time this evening, we would go on out. We'll do that in a later video where we go 60 plus. Don't forget to leave your comments down in the comments section below about the protein or the cottonseed, and which one are the deer and the hogs going to like best. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching. Y'all are awesome, and I'll see you in just a few days. Try to catch me howling at the moon.